All right. Oh, we're not live yet. Cool, cool. This is fun. All right. Hello, everyone. Hello to all of those joining us for another buyer-led M&A summit. If you are just hopping on, welcome, welcome. We, of course, will give folks a few minutes to join. But while I am doing that, I can introduce myself. My name is Hannah Jarrett. I lead marketing here at DealRoom. And I am really excited to kick off another session of the Buyer-Led M&A Summit. So while we are waiting for folks to join us, we usually ask, hey, put in the chat where you're joining from. I see Becky on our team has already done that. We're going to try something a little bit different this time. I'm going to pop up a poll. And I'd love for you to share. You should get a notification that says go to polls tab. Share in that poll where you are joining us from, and we'll be able to see in real time where folks are joining from. So I see majority North America so far, but a couple Europe, Antarctica. I would love to see someone from there. That would be quite the trip. I didn't realize my team had that on there, but a lot of North America, a little bit of Europe, South America, fantastic. Africa, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, and appreciate someone joining probably in a strange time zone. So again, if you're just joining us, welcome so much. Welcome to the Buyer-Led M&A Summit, and thank you so much for joining us. We are just getting started here, and a couple of housekeeping items. So you will see that there is a chat. It's an active chat. Feel free to use that. Drop where you're from, but also drop, your LinkedIn profile, what you do. We have seen so many connections come out of these events, and I'd love to keep that up. Oh, I just saw someone from Switzerland. Fantastic. So please drop where you're from, drop what you do, drop your LinkedIn profile. Tons of engagement in that chat throughout the session is our goal. This is meant to be a community event. You'll also see that there is a Q&A tab. Please feel free to use that throughout the session. Ask any questions that come up as you hear our presenters speaking, because we do have Q&A in all of our subsections. So we'll definitely get to those. And if we don't, we'll follow up with you or have our speakers follow up with you directly. There's also a messages tab. So you can directly message either someone from the DealRoom team, we can help you out, one of our speakers, or just anyone you see that you'd like to connect with, maybe grab some time after the summit. Fantastic. So I think we should give folks one more minute. Maybe we can pop up our slides and we can get ready to get going. So again, hello and welcome everyone to the Buyer-Led M&A Summit. As you saw in our poll, if you were here with us at the beginning, we really do have team members, folks joining us from all over the world. And I do see some familiar names and faces from the DealRoom community, from the M&A science community. So thank you all so much for joining us. Use the chat, use the Q&A, and let's get going today. So what we're going to cover today, our summits always have a theme. And this time around, we're really focused on a word that you may be sick of or you may be really eager to learn more about, which is AI. And we know that this might be appearing all over your LinkedIn threads and your internal meetings. Our goal today is to talk about how teams are actually using AI to evolve the way they work. And you're not just going to hear from DealRoom team members. We're really focused on highlighting practitioners throughout this session to talk about how teams are using AI across sourcing, pipeline management, diligence, execution, integration, and so on, to dive into what the next generation of deal workflow looks like in this AI era. You'll hear some real world examples, see some real workflows, talk about where the market is heading specifically in this new world. And regardless of where you're joining from, I really think these takeaways are going to be so impactful for the next quarter or year of your deals. So let's kick things off with the keynote. You're stuck with me for a little bit. So let's get going there. So I hope that this resonates with you all. This is based on what we hear from our customers in the community at DealRoom. M&A teams are being asked to move faster than ever before. And a lot of this is because of the promise of AI. So evaluating more opportunities, filling the pipeline with more and more. How are you going to drive more sourcing? Running more deals, and oftentimes concurrent deals at the same time to be able to hit those growth targets. And all the while, I think there's this underlying pressure of keeping stakeholders aligned, members of the deal team. So that's your internal cross-functional stakeholders, maybe your seller, your different consultants, but also keeping leadership on the same page, keeping the board or your executive team looped into what the pipeline is looking like, how deals are progressing. And it's really hard to do all of that at the same time. As these pressures have increased, the systems that are powering them, the technology that our corp dev teams are using has not evolved. So for a lot of teams, this is still the reality. And I'll show you this today. I hope it doesn't give you any trauma, but this is still the reality. We are seeing shared drives. We're seeing endless email threads, diligence trackers, status updates across different tools. Someone is still asking you where the latest file is, and you maybe don't know. Someone accidentally just replied all to 32 people on an email thread, and now you've got all the replies on top of that. And on top of all of these disjointed systems and processes, Corp Dev is the one, these M&A teams are teams that we work with every day. They're trying to wrangle everyone. They're trying to essentially be the translator between all of our cross-functional teams that support a deal to find one single source of truth. So tracking people down for updates, translating across internal teams who all have a different process. Maybe your finance team uses Excel, the legal team uses a project management tool. Bringing all these teams together so that there is a single version of the truth. And then AI entered the workflow. And a lot of teams and individuals have been really excited about this. And we are too, and we get it. The way that teams started working changed really quickly with AI. And we've talked to a lot of our customers about this, and we've kind of created this adoption curve of how people are adopting AI. And some folks are all the way at the end, which I'll get to in a minute, super adopters. They've really built, agentic workflows. But where we find most people start is from chat. And for some of you, you may feel like I did this years ago, or I did this a year and a half ago, but some are still getting started. So there's no shame in this community, wherever you are, all good. But the first use of AI we really see is chat, right? So that's probably for many of us, it was using ChatGPT, and it was for simple tasks. So maybe it's copying and pasting a big body of text and then summarizing it. It could be asking for some email copy, asking a quick question on process. It's kind of helping to speed up the small pieces in a deal. The next phase in AI adoption that we most often see is analysis. And this is where a lot of teams are today, I think. AI has helped teams started thinking faster, so really being more efficient. And that might look like reviewing diligence documents and asking AI to surface risks, maybe creating a first pass at market research. So it's not just a specific tiny task, it's actually layering in analysis work that is cutting down time, right? Increasing efficiency of tasks. And that has been very, very powerful. For a lot of teams, it could look like maybe you have a VDR or you're using DealRoom. Wherever you have your diligence documents, you're downloading those, and then you're uploading them into Claude and asking Claude to review the document, note any findings, note next steps that need to be taken. And then things changed again. And this is kind of I would say this is our early adopters, our technologists are really digging into connected workflows. Especially after some of Claude's newest releases, we've really seen this pick up a bit more, where AI is way more than a chat tool, and it's starting becoming It's become able to take action. And what this looks like is agentic workflows. Oftentimes, corp dev teams have multiple agents working together to execute on a bigger body of work. I will say that this connected workflow piece is definitely a smaller percentage of the folks that we talk to, but we're starting to see folks more and more eager to take this on. At the same time, as this is happening and our teams are trying to figure out how to best use AI in their workflow, you also likely have organizations pushing the adoption of AI to really evaluate what tools are you using? Are they driven by AI? How can you be more efficient? No, you can't have more hiring. So everyone knows that AI matters. You also have the dynamic of security, concerns around how we can use AI, how we can stay compliant while using AI. And after all that, I think many teams just don't know the best way to leverage AI. And we're going to talk more about that. But for now, I want to throw up another poll. I want to hear from you all. Where are you in your AI adoption? So you should see a little pop-up. It says go to polls tab. Please jump in here. I just talked about this, but are you using AI primarily for simple tasks? So maybe that's that chat. Are you using AI for deeper analysis? Or are you getting into that connected, agentic, really executing bigger bodies of work flow? Okay, this is really interesting, and this definitely reflects what we see as well. Using AI for analysis is kind of the main one. So that's maybe that download document, upload document, use AI to run an analysis, and then take those findings and put them into your tracker. But I do see exploring connected or agentic workflows popping up, which is super exciting. Okay, fantastic. Thank you all for sharing. I think this is super, super interesting. But regardless of where you are on this curve, the rest of the workflow has stayed the same. So even if you're leveraging AI, you likely still have a shared drive, a VDR, someone still replying all, you still can't find the seller documents. There is the workflow for how you're driving the deal generally hasn't changed. So instead of totally replacing all chaos, for some of the folks that we talk to, it feels like AI has become another tab or another layer, another kind of disparate place that they know they need to work, but it just isn't as seamless as it may sound. And as someone who, a marketer, I use a lot of AI, I have been here in my own workflow. I get that. And I want to articulate this a little bit better with a use case of a corp dev. So I'm going to tell you the story of Maya. Maya is not a real person, but she's modeled after the corporate development leaders that we talk to every day. So Maya is a VP of corp dev at a mid-market company. It's PE backed. She has a really lean team. So she has an analyst and she has a manager on her team. And they have some very aggressive growth goals that are set by the PE firm. So she has an acquisition target and an EBITDA target to hit each year. So the pressure is on. I hope you can feel the pressure from this image. Right now, she has 3 active diligence processes that she is running, and she has a board update that she needs to deliver. So she knows that she should be using AI, so she starts using it. She's summarizing diligence documents, pulling together research faster, but her day still looks the same. She still has a lot of what I articulated earlier, where she's moving information from one system to another, downloading a document, uploading it into Claude, running an analysis, but then still chasing updates across her team, translating work across different tools. And that feels really frustrating for Maya because she wants to be strategic. She got into corporate development to drive strategy, to build customer relationships or relationships with potential acquisitive targets, to build opportunities, to find opportunities, and to actually grow the company that she's at through acquisition. But somewhere along the way, the operational overhead of what the reality of an acquisitive business looks like started taking over the actual work. And Maya finds herself more and more doing a lot of manual work. And with AI, you would think that she could take some of that away, and she has been able to take some of it, but there still is a problem. And the problem is that all the data that Maya has access to is not seamlessly connected with her AI. Her AI lacks a source of truth for deal data, her deal processes, as in how she usually runs a deal, and all the past deal decisions that live across her disparate tools. She knows she should be using AI to help her be more efficient, and she's trying, but it still isn't showing that ROI at the end of the day. And for her, she's stuck at her desk late night. She knows she has this update for the board tomorrow. And she's wondering, like, what if my AI, the tools that I use that I know are so powerful, didn't sit outside my deal workflow, didn't sit outside all of my deal data, my deal processes, the systems I use? What if I could work kind of directly in AI and tap into all that deal data and that single source of truth my team is already working from? So you may guess that I'm about to introduce someone to tell you more about this, but I'd like to invite Jessie Tremblay, our VP of Product here at DealRoom, to unveil something very exciting. Jessie, welcome. We're excited to have you.
Thanks so much, Hannah. As Hannah said, I am the head of product here at DealRoom, and there's something really exciting I want to explain to all you guys. But before I do that, I'd rather show it to you. So I'm going to show you a little bit about the vision. So. Well, like you just saw in the video, today we're introducing DealRoom MCP. It's the only MCP built for the buy side of M&A, a new way to connect AI directly to your deal flow and your data. And for those of you hearing the term MCP for the first time, the simplest way to think about it is MCP is a connector between your data and your AI. In our case, DealRoom for your data and workflow. Instead of having AI sit separately from that workflow, it can securely interact and connect to the systems where the work is actually happening. So let's go back to Maya for a second. Earlier, Maya was constantly moving between systems, downloading files from her VDR, uploading them to her Claude instance, running and copying analysis outputs back into manually adding them to her findings tracker in Excel, rewriting updates for leadership, keeping systems in sync herself. But now, Maya doesn't have to orchestrate all that together manually anymore. And while Maya isn't real, the workflow absolutely is. Over the past few months, we've been spending a ton of time with real customers building AI-assisted M&A workflows today. And honestly, what we keep hearing the same thing over and over again. And here's what one of our customers, John Plushi, told us. John's team used DealRoom MCP to build a live reasoning dashboard across a complicated diligence process. And what used to take days started taking minutes. AI by itself is useful. But connected to AI workflows, connected to the real data, real diligence workflows, real pipeline contexts, that's where things start to become transformational. So now, let me start actually showing you what this actually looks like. What you're about to see is a simulated sandbox environment designed to demonstrate the MCP, because trying to run AI live in a demo can go off in different directions. We want to make sure you can actually see how it works in practice. So instead of manually downloading customer contracts into Claude, Maya can now ask AI to review diligence documents directly in DealRoom, identify risks, create findings, and write them back automatically. And you can see that it shows how it's interacting with data, interacting with DealRoom in the queries itself. It's making tool calls and showing results and things like that. The next use case I want to show is all around how you could do market research and create pipeline directly in Claude or your AI tool. Let's see a demo of how Maya can quickly start using DealRoom. She can go directly into her AI and say, research acquisition targets in healthcare IT between 50 million and 200 million. And then you start to see the magic happen. AI searches the web, compares the pipeline tracker on DealRoom, and comes up with target companies and also adds it back to her pipeline tracker on demand. So you could see it right in DealRoom as it goes. Or she can now say, generate a board-ready M&A summary. We're using all of her Q2 data across her active pipeline, diligence, and integration activity, which would look something like this as an output. Now let's look at one of the more impactful use cases that we hear all of our customers trying to do, which is due diligence analysis. Earlier, Maya would have had to download documents from the data room, upload them into her AI tool, run analysis, and manually copy everything back from spreadsheets and findings trackers. But now she can simply prompt AI directly, something like review files in the legal folder for the Horizon Group and flag risks to auto-renew clauses, customer concentration issues, missing compliance terms, and just try to do all of that in a single prompt. And the DealRoom MCP handles the workflow in the background. Now, not just this, but many more use cases which would have taken days can now be done in seconds. To learn more, go check out DealRoom.net/MCP. The link is going to be in the chat. So to say the least, this is really about removing manual orchestration from the day-to-day lives of deal teams. So teams can spend more time actually driving strategy and execution forward.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you so much. Okay, so for everyone who is watching live, you can actually check out the MCP as Jesse shared. You can check it out at dealroom.net/MCP. You can see a quick little demo here. I am so excited about this one. And that quote from John really says it all. He's been a fantastic design partner with Jesse and Andre from engineering to build this. We're super excited about the future of this. And I think these use cases are just the start of what you can do with our MCP. So thank you so much. And if you want to learn more, whether you're a DealRoom customer or not, you just kind of want to dive into how kind of this next wave of MCP-like connectors really from your data to your AI works. We actually have a webinar coming up. It's a new series we're doing. It's called Beyond the AI Hype. We want to give you the actual facts of how you can really use AI, kind of translating all the marketing messaging that you see. So this is all about 5 ways to put your deal data to work with AI. So how can you use your deal data? Yes, if it's in DealRoom, but if it's in other sources as well, and use it in AI safely and securely. This one's really great because you're not hearing from people like me, head of marketing. This is actually our product management team. So you're going to get to hear from the people who are building product and who are spending so much time with corp dev professionals, what they're building, how they're thinking about these use cases. I believe Supritha just shared the link in the chat. So feel free to sign up for this. It's in a couple weeks, June 11th. Even if you're not sure if you can make it, sign up. We always send our recordings afterward. So it's a great one to check out and learn a little bit more about the future of how we're thinking, and we think customers are thinking about using AI in their workflows. If we go back to that poll, while most of us are in that analysis, using AI for analysis, I saw that growing number of people using more agentic workflows with M&A practices, and this is a great way to actually do that. Thanks, Nathan, saying it's a sweet product enhancement. We agree, and I'll pass that on to our engineering team. So this is the end of our kind of keynote, and I'm going to start to transition us into more of the rest of our schedule today. So what does our agenda look like? So next up, we have the wonderful Kisan Patel, our founder at DealRoom, founder and current CEO of M&A Science. He's going to join us. He's really the inventor, the OG of buyer-led M&A. So he will be joining us next. After Kisan, I'm going to bring two folks from the DealRoom team up, Doug and Supreetha, and they're going to walk you through what buyer-led M&A actually looks like in practice. So show some live demos to really help you visualize what this approach looks like. After that, we're going to have Dave Fields from our product team sit down with Dan Furman, who is from the Vertex companies. This is a conversation about how teams are actually applying AI for pipeline development and diligence today. So Dan's going to share his learnings so you can get an insight into that. Then I'll bring Supreetha back up. She's going to do a 15-minute walkthrough with Ashley to show, again, another kind of demo, look-see use case into AI throughout the entire M&A lifecycle. And then our last session today is going to be an interactive panel featuring Alex Abbott and Matthew Golden from Sellers Dorsey. They are M&A practitioners, associate director of corp dev strategy, and then a consultant as well. And they'll be joined by Charisma from the DealRoom team. They're really focused on talking about how teams are adapting to AI-driven workflows. So what does this actually look like when we're bringing some of these workflows into our team? And then lastly, I'll be back with you to wrap out the day, to close it out for some final thoughts and key takeaways. So with that, I'd like to say enjoy the summit. Just a reminder that you will automatically be redirected to the next session. So just, sit tight throughout the summit. We'd love to hear from you. So just keep chatting, keep connecting with each other. Thanks again, everyone. And with that, I would like to bring up Kisan Patel, CEO at M&A Science and founder of DealRoom. Kisan, come join us on the stage. Where is he?
Here I am. Hey, thanks for the
Hey, Kisan, welcome. This community is so excited to see you. So I'll pass it over to you to take us into buyer-led M&A.
Sure. Do we have any M&A Science podcast listeners tuned in? If you are, just come represent in the chat.
100%, Kisan.
There you go.
Yes. I saw some familiar names on there for sure.
Now I redid this talk track recently, so it's something fresh and new. So I'm excited to share a few new thoughts. Do we have slides pulled up? Here we go. All right, let's just get it right into it. So let me see here. Let's go. Gotta use this. Okay. I'll go through this, and I welcome the comments on chat. By the way, this is kind of a compilation of a lot of different things that we really consolidated into one theme. And really it's built around this. The deal that closes is never the deal the model said it would be. And this is something I feel like every acquirer knows, but then they pretend they don't. If you think of a deal like a year after close, we all know what happens, that the numbers are completely off. The deal running it is completely different. And the story you're telling the board has shifted. It's the same company, same purchase agreement, but it's a different deal now. And if you ask anyone in that deal, when did it change? No one can tell you. Not corp dev, not legal, not integration, nobody. So recently I did a podcast interview with Gwen Pope, who's done tons of M&A deals. She's worked at Microsoft, Google, eBay, Mazarick. We've seen it all. And we talked about why deals fail. And people will now blame integration. They'll blame the culture didn't fit. But she said something that really stuck with me, that the biggest reason deals fail is thesis drift. And she gave plenty of examples. Companies that closed the deal, ran through integration, and by the time the team was actually executing, nobody could tell you why they bought the company in the first place. They weren't delivering on the original vision of the deal at all. And she's seen that happen all too many times. That's thesis drift. It's not about bad targets, not bad pricing, not bad integration plans. It's the reason you bought the company in the first place drifts. Stage by stage, handoff by handoff, until that deal that closes isn't the deal that you set out to do. That's what this talk track is about. Why thesis drift happens and what buyer-led teams do to stop it. The one word for the whole thing, the thread. So here's the problem in one picture. Most M&A doesn't run as one deal. It runs as a relay race. The bankers carry the first leg. They hand it to corp dev. Actually, I think. All right, let me go back. I just want to make sure I have the right slide. Sorry about that. So if you go to the M&A, it doesn't run as one deal. It runs as a relay race. So when you think about it, you got the bankers that start off, they'll carry the first leg, and then they hand it off to corporate development. Corp dev hands it to the deal team. The deal team hands it to finance to own the model. Finance hands it to legal. Then legal hands it over to integration. So you end up with 5 handoffs, sometimes 6, sometimes more. And then on day one, the people in the room responsible for actually executing this thing and making it work, none of them that were in the room when the thesis got written. That's not the deal. That's more of a relay. So we got 3 reasons why the deal thread breaks. And they show up in basically every deal. You've got 1, nobody holds the end-to-end view. Corp dev focuses on sourcing, finance is honed in on the model, and diligence is focused on the data room, while legal is locked in on the purchase agreement. And then you have integration focused on day one. Everyone's doing their job. Nobody owns the deal. So the thread doesn't break because somebody's made a mistake. It breaks because no one was holding it. 2, the model is essentially a snapshot. Like you work really aggressively to build a model, get an LOI signed, and that's it. It captures what you initially built to get the LOI signed. Then diligence happens, and some of the assumptions you had either hold, they bend, some break. But does that model change? It doesn't. It ends up getting archived. Then by integration, that model that priced the deal is a complete fiction. 3, the thesis gets translated and not carried. Every handoff is a translation. So when corp dev tells finance, finance writes it into the model, and then legal hears it from the deal team. Integration ends up getting a paragraph in a deck that somebody read once. So these translations essentially lose meaning. And by the time the thesis reaches integration, it's someone's interpretation of someone else's interpretation. And that's why deals drift. It's not that anyone's made a bad call, but it's that nobody's holding this thread. All right, so here's the picture. On the left, we have 5 teams, broken handoffs, no center. And on the right, the thesis and the model at the center, and every stage talking to the center, every stage talking to each other, the center stays alive. So that's what threading actually looks like. Now, here's the part that most people miss. Threading isn't a process trick, or it's not a tactic. It's the result of doing something most buyers don't do. You have to understand the end state before you can thread anything. So what's the vision of the combined company? How does the other company operate? Their culture, how leadership makes decisions, how they handle problems. What's the customer experience as one company going to look like? What's the combined go-to-market going to be? And if you don't fully understand all of that, you can't thread a deal because you don't know what you're threading towards. And that's what buyer-led teams front load. They end up front loading. You'll have integration leads in really early because they're the ones that have to deliver the end state. And integration costs get built into the model from day one. So it's not an estimate done later, not added as a footnote, but actually built in, because the model is the only works if the integration is actually got some cost built into it. Otherwise, you're pricing this deal on fiction. And having this thesis with integration assumptions, so they're the only way to know at every stage whether the thread is still intact. And that's where buyer-led M&A is all about doing the work up front, understanding the end state, front-loading the information, and threading every stage back to what you're actually trying to build. So there's 3 places that either holds or doesn't hold. The first place is the beginning. before any banker call. Most buyers will write a deal thesis. We're buying this company for growth, market access, product capability. It's reasonable, it's standard, but here's what's missing. A deal thesis tells you why you want to do the deal. It doesn't tell you what has to be true for the deal to work. And those are different documents. So this is what it looks like. Let me show you. On the left side, this is what most thesis decks look like. It's a paragraph, sounds reasonable. It's got synergies in there, growth, capabilities, culture fit. Now, if you look at the right side, this is what a buyer-led thesis looks like. It's named assumptions. Each one is testable. Each one tied to a stage where it gets tested, and then each one's got an owner to it. So if a CEO and CRO say 24 months, if the CEO and CRO are supposed to stay 24 months out, that's tested in diligence. It's owned by integration. If we have top customers renew at 90% NRR, it's tested in diligence, owned by finance. Each row has a thread that you're holding. And one of these travels, the other one sounds good. So if you look at these two, right, one of them will actually carry forward and the other one sounds good, but it dies in the deal room. So here's how it travels. Goes through sourcing, through valuation, through diligence, through LOI, into integration, every stage gate, same question, which assumption is being tested right now, which one held, which one bent, which one broke. Everyone writes a thesis. The move is to write one that's built to travel and then actually use it. Second place is diligence. Most buyers run diligence as discovery. You go in there, you find what's there, you build a checklist, you collect a bunch of information, produce a report, and that's information collection. It's not diligence. Diligence is a rehearsal. It's where you actually test the thesis against what's actually true, where the model gets updated as you learn, where you build an integration plan that you're going to execute, not just before close or after, during diligence. So one of my favorite interview guests in the podcast is Jim Buckley. And Jim taught me something about this. So Jim's done integration for over 20 years, Microsoft, VMware, PayPal. And here's how he builds an integration plan. He takes a big wall whiteboard, taped up paper, and whoever's in the room writes the integration timeline across the top. He writes the integration timeline across the top, and it's basically month by month, quarter by quarter, and then down the side, it's every work stream. You got people, IT, finance, customer success, and then he brings in every functional lead into the room. So both sides, the acquire and target, same room. Now here's the twist, is that he starts at the right end of the wall. He starts at the end state and walks backwards, because you don't plan integration by figuring out what to do on day one. You plan it by knowing where you have to land and walking backwards from there. So every work stream, every quarter, what has to be true at each step to get to the end state. And one of my favorite lines Jim has is electricity diminishes over time and distance. So same deal, every handoff, you lose voltage. And by the time the thesis reaches integration, 3 or 4 translations happen, then you end up with nothing left. So the idea of walk the wall fixes that. Everyone in the same room, same wall, same plan getting built. Simple to say, hard to do. Integration leads in the room, week 1 of diligence, not as observers, but as builders. Third place is the one that most people don't see coming. It's the close. So in a relay race deal, signing is the finish line, right? Everybody closes the deal, they pop champagne, you get a press release, get some photos taken, the deal team moves on, and then integration has to take the baton and run the last leg alone. In a buyer-led deal, there is no baton. The team that owns the deal still owns the deal. The model that priced it becomes the model that runs the integration. And the disclosure schedule that papered the risk becomes integration's risk register on Monday morning. And now here's what most teams get wrong is disclosure schedules, reps and warranties. Most people treat it as legal paperwork, like another chore. It's a big mistake. Those documents are integration commitments with signatures on them. So every rep is something the seller swore was true, which integration's counting on, and every warranty is a risk that you priced, which the model has to know. So if you negotiate them like paperwork, you're handing integration a list of broken promises. If you negotiate them like integration commitments, then you're handing integration a head start. We have another example of this approach is Matt James. I did a podcast interview with Matt, who runs M&A at Oak Ridge Insurance. And he's in all been involved with hundreds of deals. So we actually did a podcast interview called 400 Acquisitions and a Failed Process. And what Matt described was year one of the roll-up that he built up from scratch was that most of what he did exactly what most acquirers do, right? They close the deal, then they throw it over the wall to HR, accounting, marketing, and tell them to figure it out. After one of the bigger deals closed, the CEO from the acquired company walked up to him and said, "We could have done that way better. You know, the process could have been much improved." And Matt took that feedback seriously. So that person is now running Oak Ridge's integration function. They have a unique title because it's VP of New Partner Operations. But what that role actually does, it's one person that quarters back every deal from pre-LOI diligence all the way through the first 90 days post-close. Same person, end to end, sits on every diligence call, tracks every work stream, manages every transition, no handoff, no baton. So I use a quote Matt I got from Matt was that all the knowledge built during diligence carries directly into integration because he's been involved from the start. When the broader integration team steps in, there's no gap. That's what threading a deal past close looks like in practice. It's one person, one model, one continuous work stream. So the move here is to define your post-close team during diligence, not after signing. Model that price the deal becomes the model that runs the integration. It's the same people in the same room, same artifact, living. That's how you're going to keep this thread past close. The deal doesn't end at signing. It ends when the last assumption you wrote down on day one either held or didn't. And if you weren't holding the thread, you'll never know which one it was. That's the talk. 3 places where the thread either holds or breaks, where it starts, the thesis that travels, where it gets tested, diligence is the rehearsal, where it survives or dies, and the close isn't the handoff. And one idea underneath all of it is that seller-led M&A is a relay race. Buyer-led M&A is one continuous deal. The difference isn't tactics, it isn't frameworks. It's not the size of your team. It's whether the thread holds. If any of this resonated, come find us at M&A Science. We're building the operating standard for buyer-led teams. It's the standard we're building. Come join the rest of us, like actually doing the work on these deals.
Awesome. Thanks, Kisan. While we have Kisan here, we do have a couple minutes, 1 minute for Q&A. Any quick questions for Kisan? I don't see any, Kisan. I saw a lot of people saying like, yes, I totally agree, that aligns. So I think you've got some new followers coming to M&A Science. A lot of fantastic, love it. Diligence is the rehearsal. Love that one. That one lands. So relatable. All right, Kisan.
Good to hear. That's kind of a collection of consolidating all these learnings into one theme. It was good. First time doing that talk. I got some good ideas to make it better.
Fantastic. No better place than the Buyer-Led M&A Summit. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. I see
Bye,
some nice
bye,
comments.
Kisan.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Kisan. Okay, everyone, we are going to move on to our next session. You will be automatically moved there. We'll dive into a demo with Supreetha and Doug. So thanks again for being here for our keynote and for our buyer-led M&A session. Now we're going to get into some of the actual workflows, best practices for buyer-led M&A. So with that, I will move everyone over. I think we'll be moved over in about 30 seconds, and I will see you there.